Okay, now you're asking me to take specifics and answer for God. I can't do that, but I would say yes, to some regard, that yes, it's possible that God could have seen the iniquity of the Africans and decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to allow this. God allows a lot of adversity in our life because of our rebellion from Him. He allows it to happen to Christians and non-Christians alike. So I'm not going to speak for that, but God definitely understands that slavery is a part of our society, that we embrace it. Did God encourage the evilness of enslaving Africans? I really doubt that, because there was no greater purpose to glorify God. God is factored out of that equation. That was mankind's greed. So I really would only like to speak on instances in the Bible where God clearly advocated it, in a sense of allowing it to happen, and that would be biblical examples. Let me answer what J. Rex said while you're thinking, if you don't mind. Um, J. Rex, you were talking about, you said that Christians, took slaves and said that they were, doing so to help them, not be under their false god, whatever. First, just because Christians do things in the name of God does not mean that's God doing it. What's funny is the Bible tells us when God's doing it. It's very clear. God says, ye go do this to these people, and then they go do it. But when we're talking about after biblical, after the Bible's written. Now, if I can't walk around and say, well, God told me to go smite these people, I've got no basis for what I'm saying. And those people that went to Africa and enslaved those people have zero basis from a biblical perspective to justify what they did. They have zero. They cannot show you anywhere in the Bible where it says that they were allowed to do that. They could say, well, God allowed slavery, so this no. God allowed people to do things in the Bible under His tutelage or His hand that we are not doing now. So that's a false premise to say, oh, the African slaves, that it factors into the conversation with any congruity, I guess. No, because first, let's entertain the African slaves argument. I go get a bunch of slaves, which I don't want, let me just say that. I get a bunch of slaves. And then you go, hey, Jezuzfreek, how can you have slaves? And I go, well, the Bible says I can have slaves. Because look, there were slaves in the Bible. But then you would say, but Jezuzfreek, are you treating those slaves the way the Bible told you to treat them? No. Well, we instantly see that I am doing something contrary to God's will. But now you may say, well, what if you start treating them the way God said in the Bible? Is it still right? No, because God's not told me to go enslave people. I would still be in defiance because God doesn't encourage people to go enslave other people. So that's just, it doesn't work. No, because like I said, the Bible does not condone slavery. Okay, I still don't understand what your question is. Yeah, I said that. It does not condone slavery as something man is allowed to choose. God can make those choices. That's what we see according to the Bible. When God allowed nations to fall under slavery, it was for His benefit to bring man to an understanding of God. We'll make no pretense here if we're taking slaves now. This isn't about God. God hasn't asked me to take slaves. So you're talking apples and oranges here.
Um, I think you're right. The Bible and God doesn't condone slavery. It does, however, condone the murder of slaves if they die a slow, painful death over the course of many days.
Once again, I seem to be talking to deaf ears. If God tells Israel, go enslave this group, then God has done so in a way that is befitting of him, in a manner that is moral in his eyes. I'm not going to second guess that, but you guys are making drawing the comparison that, oh, well, if I run over to my next door neighbor and conk him in the head with a club and say, you're coming over to my house and mowing my grass every day and you're going to be my slave, the Bible says that's okay, that's idiotic and foolish. God doesn't advocate me going to do that. So you guys are drawing, like I said, you guys are comparing apples and oranges. You're using two different types of slavery. It's just, it's not a fair conversation. You guys can argue and say, well, God, he encourages slavery, whatever. That's fine. I'm not going to argue this all night long. It's not productive. If that's a stumbling block for you, and if you feel that God encourages slavery and you feel that it's immoral, then I would ask that you petition God and take that up with Him. Put it before prayer to God and see what He has to say. I can't answer your questions further on this. I'm not an expert on Old Testament slavery issues. I've given it my best go. If there are any other Christians that can help me out, it would be much appreciated. I see Pastor James in the room. You got a good Bible. You're much better equipped when it comes to biblical discussion or such. So I can't explain to you any better than I already have, guys. So anything above and beyond is going to be me just going round and round with you.